But there had to be a lot of resistance even from the schools.
There was a lot of resistance from school boards. Well, it was good enough for me. I graduated from there. And not only that, you had all these people who were on these little school boards. And they would lose their positions. And those were important little positions in those communities, I think. So it wasn't without a lot of fight, and it wasn't all done in 2 years.
Yes.
We just started it.
Where did these majority Democrats now, these new people in office, what kind of backgrounds did they have? Can you characterize it?
Oh, no, you can't. I mean, it was across the spectrum. Many of them came from unions. Some of them came teachers for the first time.
How long were you in each year?
Oh, we were in, I would say, 8 months.
In session.
8 months to 9 months. We had long sessions because there was so much we thought had to be done that, and so many things we wanted to do that we didn't have many vacations and much time off.
I interrupt you. I raise that because I'm trying to think. So people were really having to give up jobs and so on to be there. So what was the kind of background they reflected?
Well, it came from all sorts of us. We even had some housewives. We had janitors. We had factory workers. We had teachers. We had, I mean, you name it, I mean, it was across the spectrum. And in most cases, or not most cases, but many cases, they had no idea they were going to get elected. I remember one guy from Macomb County, I believe it was, who said, I filed in the last half hour. They came and got me and wanted me to file. Yeah. And he said, I had no idea that I was going to win. Right. So that's how many we picked up. We picked up at least 25 to 30 seats, I think it was. 25, I'd say, in that election. But then the sad story came in 1966.
What happened?
In 1966,
now,
the election of 1966, we lost 19 seats in the House. 19 seats. It went from becoming a huge Democratic year in 1964 to a down year for Democrats, big year for Republicans, 66. Off-year election, no national election.
So we should remember that 64 was a big year for Democrats nationally.
LBJ versus Goldwater.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That was the huge year for Democrats, and it went all the way down to the courthouse, to the White House.
Right.
In terms of electing Democrats that year. The next year we lost 19 seats. It became 55 to 50. I lost my seat by a little over 100 votes. It was the closest one. And when people say votes don't count, I lost my seat by about less than a vote a precinct on the average. That decided who controlled the Michigan legislature for the next 2 years. That one seat, that one vote.
So in 66, the election turned out 55.
55.
55 Democrats, 55 Republicans. Who organized then? What happened once?
Well, because we had a traitor in our midst, Edie O'Brien, a representative from the Detroit area, decided that he would join the Republicans and give them the opportunity to organize. And for that, he got a committee chairmanship and the ability to travel. I never forgave him. Neither did a lot of other Democrats.
What committee did he chair?
I don't remember what they gave him because it wasn't that important. He just wanted to travel, I think, and it wasn't a major committee. And I don't recall exactly what committee it was.
So there were equal number of Democrats and Republicans, but on the votes to organize, who would be the speaker and the leadership, he chose to support the Republican candidate. What did Bobby do when after the votes came in and he no longer was a member of the House?
Okay, I was asked. There was a study by a University of Chicago professor on K-12 education, the Thomas study it was called, and I was asked to join that, and I did for the next year. And the Thomas study still is worth looking at. There's a lot of good things. Michigan, well, and K-12 education, and principally Michigan. There were professors from the U of M, Michigan State University, Wayne State University, a lot of staff people. Thomas brought some people with him and made some recommendations about K-12 education after a year. And I spent 1 year on that, and I was working on my master's at that time as well. And
were you doing that at Flint, U of M?
No, I had to go down on campus to get most of my master's. But one of the things that came out of that I think Minnesota adopted was base revenue sharing. In other words, an urban area like Minneapolis, St. Paul would share the base with all the surrounding area, and the surrounding area was getting great growth, while the urban area wasn't. It didn't share the base going back forever. It started at a point. From now on, we'll share tax base. And that's something that I think would have been good and would have done a great deal for Michigan if we had adopted something like that. The Thomas study basically has and they wanted to share, also another recommendation was to share the industrial tax base. And it's been looked at a lot, and there's a lot of good recommendations in there. It should be dusted off again and looked at, because a lot of time and effort, and I think good recommendations.
That largely funding matter. I mean, it was largely education funding. Was it also curriculum?
There was not much about curriculum. It was mostly because the problem in most areas, in most states, is the funding and trying to get equal opportunities for students, no matter where they may live. And that was the principal portion of it. Was looking at the tax structure.
That issue as a key issue, the funding gaps and inequities and adequacy, it sounds like today, doesn't it?
It's not as bad as it used to be, but it's getting bad again. There's still that discrepancy there. As I say, not as bad as it was post-1965, 66, but it's still there, and it still should be addressed. And the taxation and the evaluation problem, the revenue sharing, the base revenue sharing, that's extremely important. I don't know how you ever get it done at this point, but that's extremely important, and would do a lot for education, would do a lot for people coming in, prospective employers, and everybody else, I think.
In moving from the Davison schools to the Flint schools, was there a big difference in terms of what you could do in the classroom, just in terms of resources?
Yeah, a lot more resources in Flint, because you had the community school concept being funded by C.S. Mott Foundation.
Ah, right, yes, private funds.
So, private funds. So it was tremendous things you could do. I had 2 classes that were special classes, A, B students, high IQ students, and that sort of thing. You could do wonderful things. We did mock trials. We studied the Constitutional Convention that was coming up, and the proposed Constitution, new Constitution. We did a lot of things and we had the resources to do them, and Davison didn't have. That was a situation where it was a rich versus poor, but it was private funding more than anything else that made the difference there. It was the C.S. Mott Foundation.
All right, we came back. You served a term. You came out, worked on the folks with the Thomas study. Did you get involved in or stay involved in community political activity?
I went back on the city council in Davison, as a matter of fact. And there was a vacancy there. They reappointed me, and I went back there. Then I was appointed by the council to serve on the county commission, which was about 60-some members at that time.
So you were still a member of the council, but you were the representative to the commission?
Yes, yes. There was about 60-some members at that time. That was before the one-man, one-vote.
Yes.
They extended to county commissions at that time. And then I went to work for the Genesee Intermediate School District as the state and federal director of programs. Back then, grantsmanship was big. I mean, we wrote grants for everything. Got a tremendous amount of help. And then the county commission went one man, one vote, came to me and said, we'll give you an extra $5,000 to $8,000 to come and help us set up the county commission, the new county commission. So I went there and helped do that, got them all set.